Hey!
Welcome to Lasers and Lace. You've got Delana and Ivy and Mal and sometimes Rain. Subscribe for free on Twitch TV with Prime Gaming. Lasers and Lace.
Yay! I think I fixed
Hey.
my sound issue too. Did it work? I think it worked.
I think so. I heard it, but I
Yay!
did mute the Twitch site. Hi
Hi.
everybody. How
Wow.
y'all doing?
We need to
Yeah,
test.
let-
Can people hear me? Because everything.
Yeah.
Oh, my microphone's working now. You guys have to be able to hear me. But my
Yes,
camera today.
Yeah, we
Yes,
can
they
hear
could
you.
hear you.
My-
Yeah, they could hear you.
Shh. My camera is shit. And my green screen's not working, people. And I just got done work like 5 minutes ago. And everything's going sideways. And Mal took too long to get her laundry done.
Listen!
So, it's all Mal's fault that everything is all wrong. Cause
The first time I'm back on screen and you already throw shade at me? Wow,
Yeah,
I see
yeah.
how it fucking is.
See, I'm gonna make myself even bigger. Look at, I'm bigger than everybody.
Ivy,
No.
at least you did get something in the mail.
Oh my
that
god.
finally came
Oh
in.
my god. So you guys know, and I'm sorry, Ricks, we're completely just sidelining you here because we've squirreled and it's what we do. But
Yep.
I
This is
got
important.
the stuff, and it says
Nice.
pins for Vegas, but now it says stuff for Ivy, and I have to share the swag because the swag is phenomenal. So I got
Because
this.
you're a swag whore.
I'm a swag whore. This really cool casino tokeny thing because
Nice.
it's super cool. And I got a goblin. It's so heavy, like it's.
It is heavy. It's that thing's metal.
And I got a magnet.
Nice. Wow.
And I got a pin. And I got this cool like thingamabobber. And it's a USB drive. It's kind of hard to open, to be honest. Is there anything on it, Delana? Like it?
No.
No. But and then of course, in true Horde fashion, we've got some pretty epic glasses.
Doodle's gonna steal those.
Nice.
Doodle totally is gonna steal them. And then I got the most loveliest note from Delana, which I'm not gonna read on air, but all I can say is, guys, it's handwritten in a baggie, and it's right in the feels, guys, right in the feels. So today, guys, because I keep cutting Mal off. Oh, now we've got Uriel. Uriel's screwing up my cameras.
Sorry.
Here we
But-
go.
Well, on the if it makes you feel better, honey, on the stream, all it did was take Mel and just shove her over.
Get out of the way, Mal. But
Okay, bye.
let me fix the cameras here. I will do the things, guys. I don't know how to do the things very well, but I'm gonna do the things. Uriel, you're just gonna be there in voice only for a little bit till I figure out how to fix you.
All
We're
right.
gonna put Mal
Whatever you need.
there. Yeah.
Hi.
Oh, you guys can hear me, right?
Of course, you're very quiet though.
I am? Okay, let me...
But like he's very quiet with the sweet sultry voice.
Yes, this is true. The ladies love him.
Mm-hmm.
Also, some of the guys too. I mean,
Yeah, actually, yeah. Like, why do we have to just say
Yeah.
Wow.
ladies?
We're not kink
Everyone.
shaming here. Rix, you're gonna go on top of our logo today because, dude, you get the stuff. You're right up there.
I don't know what that means, but I'm honored.
right in the middle of the screen.
It just means you're on top, bro.
Okay.
You're on top.
All right.
I mean, I bet like some of the stuff that I designed in there, like it took me a long time to design that
Oh,
poker
crap.
trip, and Rix could probably do something twice as cool in like half the time. It's a long time, okay?
Okay, guys, like I said, I'm still learning here, so you're gonna just have to bear with me while you see everything I do while I fix it. Ah! Rix, go back up there.
You're going that way.
There's very many of us on this.
I mean, like, listen. we're
Uriel,
still
you don't get a
learning.
name
We've been
tag
doing this
today.
for-
Yeah.
Oh,
We've been
okay.
doing this for under
Everybody
a year.
knows who you are anyway.
Yeah, everybody knows who you are by like just one with the poos behind you, and two just like
They know the poos now, yeah, for sure.
damn it, with that handsome face. So yeah, tonight we got just a huge amount of stuff to talk about, and well, I don't know, they could continue to keep talking, but I'm only here for about less than an hour. I could only manage to sit down for an hour at a time. that's me. But yeah, we're gonna be talking about Losac pirate stuff and also a mix with lore. So like we're mainly gonna be hearing a lot from Rix and also a little bit from Uriel as well. Just talking about all that wonderful shit shenanigans, and also congratulations, Redline, for being a homeowner. Good for you, dude. Good
Oh
for
my god, I want a home.
Mm.
Give me the
Yeah,
things.
you're welcome for that shout out. Yeah. Okay.
Redline gets the love.
So let's actually start it off. So Rix,
Yo.
also, so yes, you were Losec and everything,
Oh.
and also you are running for CSM. So tell us a little bit about yourself, like Losec and a little bit of CSM and everything. You know, talk to us all about that.
Sure. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I am. I decided this year, after 13 years in the game, to finally take the plunge, pinch the nose, dive into the deep end, and run for the CSM. I think that it's a critical time in Eve. I think we're 18 years into this thing, and lots of stuff is going on. And so, just a little background on me, I guess. I've been a -10 pirate in Losec for the last almost 10 years. I'm the CEO of one of the largest independent pirate groups at all of Eve called Stay Frosty, which is
Mhm.
in the Alliance Band Apart, which I'm also Alliance executor of. And let's see, what do? We yar around. We like to do it with a smile on our face and with good cheer and
Shoot you in the face.
shoot you in the face, yeah. But we also take time afterwards, sometimes when we have it, and talk to you about your ship and your fit and what you did wrong, and
Good.
try to help people out. That's mostly how we get new members. Honestly, people like the way we do things and appreciate us not being dicks, and which is
You
great.
you shot me in the face and then taught me how to shoot other people in the face. This is fantastic.
Exactly. Like that's
yeah.
That's
true,
how Eve
bro.
is.
Well, for example, today someone was missioning in our home system, which is really just a bad idea, and they got killed, and they'd been killed. We looked at their kill board and we realized that we had blown them up like 2 times previous. So this was the third time. So we convoed the guy and we said, "Look, dude, stay out of our home system. This is where we live. It's not a good place to run missions." And he really appreciated that. He's like, "Okay, thank you," and we gave him some advice about
He's
how
like,
to
I'm
finish
never
it.
fucking coming back to this place ever again.
No.
God
Never
damn it.
again.
Nope.
It's kind of in a way it's bad because now we won't be able to kill him again probably, but it's good.
Maybe he will come back. Maybe he'll like to have loved you and want to do that.
Yeah,
Um,
Or
yeah,
like,
we
hey
have
guys,
that.
can I join?
That actually does happen.
And the other thing too, like
Yeah.
our very own Uriel, who does lore with you guys. Uriel, you've decided to run for CSM this year too.
Yay.
Yeah, that is a thing that I'm doing.
So
Throw
give us a
my,
little
to
brief
elaborate?
blurb about you.
Yeah, totally. Well, let's see. As I would assume most people who know what I'm about would guess, this is a platform I'm basing on a lot of narrative and story-related things. That's sort of the crux of it, but really the biggest part of it all is that the story elements of an IP, or especially when it comes to a game, are really, really effective at kind of pulling in players and making them stick around perhaps long enough to find their place in the community. Specifically, I'm talking about Eve for that one. Eve has some issues with player retention for earlier days. If you don't know what you're trying to do or who you are trying to fly with, and you don't have many corp mates or companions you're kind of doing stuff with, you might not be as inclined to stick around. But if you have something like, say, the first time you saw a TV show you really like, when you finished whatever season that was out, however many months or maybe even years later, you heard about it again. You're like, oh, I'm gonna hop right back on that because it's something you're into, and this thing that captured your attention. That's the role of good narrative, storytelling and world building in a game, and most particularly an MMO. So that's the focus I'm looking at for things on Eve. Further integration of story elements and just sort of active world building between not only player stuff but also like the world itself, kind of mashing those together in game. Through they can put out world news, whatever, have game mechanics be explained about things. Everything in Eve kind of has its place in the story, and the more that those elements are visible to the players, the more it kind of all meshes together. And I think that's a thing that is worth trying to champion on the CSM. So that's kind of what I'm going for.
Uriel, Manic says Uriel has the best eyebrows of all CSM, past and present.
I love you, Manic. Oh,
I
I miss
love
you,
Manic's
man.
eyebrows.
I miss everybody at the meetups.
No, right?
Thank you very much.
So horrible.
I have to say, in terms of, and this is my personal opinions, people. This is not
Uh-oh.
the opinions of Sixth
Bias.
Empire or anybody else that I fly with. These are my opinions. I feel that if both of these individuals got on CSM, we would see some super positive changes because fresh blood, and look what they do for the community. We have the art dude who does fantastic art crap for us and puts on tournaments and blows people up and teaches them new things. And then we've got the lore guy who has such a passion for the community, which rivals my own passion for the community in a different kind of way, though. But go votes. Put your votes. These two lovely peoples, like right here. I'm throwing it out there now. All the peoples. Give them the votes because they need them. Okay, my rant's over. Whoa, we're gonna hug
They
so hard.
appreciated rant.
We are gonna, yeah, when we finally get a chance to meet in real life again. Right.
This is gonna be awesome. Okay, so I'm really bad at CSME stuff because like I know I've run, but the questions, and I don't want to be like CCP and being like, "What's your favorite pizza?" I don't work that way.
Yes,
But
Emmy stuff. I like it.
well, you know, the pineapple has to go on pizza, and that's not a debate I'm even gonna work with here because it's just that's how it is.
Is it
Um,
pasta on pizza?
So wrong.
Pasta on pizza. Somebody was talking about banana on pizza, and now I'm
That sounds
curious.
like a sin. I like
I'm-
pineapple, but I
I'm
wouldn't put
curious
banana
to
on it.
try it now. But
Is my audio still really low?
you
Because
are
it's
very
not-
low, yeah.
I can't figure out why it would be. I've turned up all of my input to its maximum,
No idea.
but I have no idea why. So
Banana
Oh,
is
well.
nice. Okay, but these new null changes or nullification changes that they've put out, what are your thoughts on this? Because I know that the people want to know what you think about it.
Okay, so as far as nullification goes, I think we could lump that in with the workhorse stabs
Mhm.
change and the nullification change. I think what we have to realize is that, and this is good, in that CCP is moving away from activities and modules that require passive input from players. So what they would like to see is more active input from players. The more active somebody is, the better of a player they are. So the idea that you can just, put something on, get up and walk away from your computer screen is not great. We want players at their keyboards inputting and doing stuff. So the way they do that, one of the ways they do that is what great examples recently with the workhorse stab change and with the nullification change is that they're moving things that used to just come on your ship or were just, well, if you remember back, a good example back with the suitcase, the damage control, you used to, there'll be a mod that you could just put on your ship, and you had to turn it on and everything. So workhorse stabs worked a lot like that too. And nullification did as well. You could put a subsystem on your T3 that would just give you nullification. And now they've turned that into a module. It's a nullification module that fits in a high slot that works on a variety of ships, except for shuttles. Shuttles get nullification built in, kind of like the Venture gets workhorse stab strength built into it. And these are active modules that you have to actively use. And they have timers and countdowns. And so it's part of a strategy or a tactical thing that you have to figure out as a player. When do you want to turn them on? And how do those timers work in your favor, or how do they work into the favor of the defender? And so that's better. Also, the other side of that too is it gives statistical control to CCP, so that if there's changes needed, they don't have to change an entire module. They can just tweak the numbers a little bit.
So you're very much pro this change. Like you're on board.
Absolutely.
You
This
think it's
is
fantastic.
Awesome. It's fantastic. Yeah.
What,
It's a
what about
bold
you,
move,
Uriel?
Cotton.
I'm pretty much on the same page there. I like the direction things are going. I won't claim myself to be any sort of expert when it comes to PvP or any of the things this affects, though. My only thing is I wish they would put a second slot on the luxury yacht, because I use that to fly around and look at things. Now I can't quite do that anymore.
Yeah, the yacht needs a high slot, and also the T3 cruisers. When you put a subsystem on, that should add a high slot to those cruisers. Excuse me. So right now, if you there used to be there was a nullification subsystem that you could add to your Tengu, your Loki, Proteus, and there still is, and it gives bonuses to nullification, which it still does. But now you have to have a nullification module that goes into a high slot, and I think it's unfair that you can use that subsystem, but it doesn't give you an extra high slot to put that module in. I think that's ridiculous, and the yacht needs one too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the biggest ones that got hit by that were the interceptors, because things like crows that you would
Right.
your fleet crows that used to be bubble immune only have 4 high slots. Well, they've got
Yep.
4 turret slots, so now it's
Right.
like,
I think that's kind of one of
gotta
the
give
main
up.
points of making that change in the first place, though. There were some, to my knowledge, some oppressive tactics being invoked with interceptors and that sort of thing lately in the recent war or whatever.
Somebody's saying, Elder Cape is saying that they added a second high slot on the yacht.
Did they already?
Okay.
Okay.
We need to log in and check this.
That's kind of
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
I haven't logged in for a couple of days, so that's probably right if you're saying it.
Yeah.
I agree
Hope
with
so.
Quaif. Says interceptors aren't designed to lay down DPS. They're there to literally intercept, hold down, tackle, just for enough time for the fleet to get there, so then you could have your long range tackle come in.
Right.
So, okay, we've got a lot of changes that
Size.
CCP has done. Pew, 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 pew. What do you guys think about these mobile observatories which are coming out? Personally, I think they're freaking
Wait,
awesome.
what?
The
What?
mobile
The mobile
observatories. The
observatories,
decloakers. The
yeah.
The
decloakers.
anti-cloaking.
They're using the word mobile observatories, which so I get the cloaking function. I get where they're going with it. I feel as if this is probably a first step, or at least I hope it is, because if you remember way back in the sort of, I wouldn't call it a timeline anymore because it was more of the ideas they discussed for a while. They wanted originally observatories to be a structure type alongside, citadels and industrial complexes and refineries and that sort of thing, as in things that would affect a large number of things in a system, and you'd have some more fine control over things like, say, maybe local or other sorts of things to do with information. The current iteration of it, these observatories, I get their function, and I think generally this is a good thing the way they're doing it. But I hope they're going to do more with them, or maybe introduce, larger ones or whatever, actual structure type ones,
Agreed. Yeah, I think it's as typical with Eve players. Whenever something major happens, there's a lot of people freak out, panic, and I think as time has gone on, we've realized that this isn't the major disruption to everything that we thought it was going to be. I mean, these observatories have to be deployed. They only last for a certain period of time, and again, back to the passive active thing. If you're actively cloaked in a system, you should be fine. You just cloak up again.
I was a firm advocate on my CSM campaign last year that they had to add like fuel or something to cloaking devices because people
Right.
shouldn't be able to sit in a system all day long cloaked up with no repercussions. Like, I'm sorry, Marche and anybody else who does all the whole cloaky camping and gets crap tons of ISK for doing it, but no, I 100% am behind these decloakers because then I can find the little bastards and shoot them in the face.
breaking down some of the more passive
Yep.
mechanics in the game, I think, is a good thing.
Absolutely.
Now,
Yeah, at the same time also, also just to add onto all of that, I mean, the most active thread, at least in the, the features and ideas section of the forum for years and years and years going, has been stuff about cloaky camping. So
Right.
that's definitely been a contentious
CC
subject
please,
for a very long time.
CC please.
So
now
seeing something happen with it is really neat.
I have a question about the AFK cloaky camping. So, like, I've been very away from Eve lately. Completely understandable in my case. So would they're getting rid of that, but does that also come into wormhole space as well that it's affecting? Or because then if so, then that completely changes the whole eviction style game, where because some people would just be AFK or hiding in a wormhole, creeping up on someone, like gathering intel and like, oh, I'm sitting cloaked off here for an op, I gotta go run to the store, I'm the only one available in wormholes, or they haven't decided for Pochvent. Okay.
It
That
says this
changes
deployable will bring a new tool into the mix for defense against cloaking-based incursions into low-sec and null-sec regions.
Okay,
Right,
okay.
right.
Because then I will admit, as much as I used to play and living in wormholes a lot, it would be very interesting aspect to do in wormholes, but then also
It would
it's-
bring new meaning to rage rolling.
it would, well,
Yeah.
well, thing is though, they completely destroyed rage rolling. They really did, because of before that update of where you could take a rolling archon when you're in a C5 and roll your C5 stack and literally go through about, I don't know, 10 wormholes within 10 minutes if you have a good fleet and if you're in everything. So it's such a very big thing. And when it comes to, for example, staging for ops or evictions, anything like that, the AFK cloaky camping has kind of that changes things, because when my corp was being evicted, I was sitting cloaked in my Rourke for at least a day until downtime, and I didn't log that back in because I knew our attackers were still in the hole.
Oh,
Whereas
dude,
if that
I
changed,
put a cloak on everything. I've got a story where I whelped a fleet by accident, 'cause I'm a really bad FC. I'm like, hey guys, kitchen sink, let's go. I've got a wormhole. Let's jump in here and let's just, explore. We met a gang on the other side.
Mhm.
Those who fly with me know that I love my Gilas. I absolutely love my Gilas. I'm like,
They're
go,
fun,
my preciouses. And then the drones go and then they rip things apart. But every time I go in a roam, I throw a cloak on my Gila.
It's force of habit.
And people think I'm crazy. But I used to be a wormholer. So for me, you gotta have a cloak on your ship. So
Like I said, Ivy, it's force of habit.
we jump
And
into this wormhole, and there's an enemy fleet sitting on the other side, and we just get ripped apart. So I rage run at the exit and manage to get out. So they're all spewing out after me, and I'm like, cloak, and they're like, get back here and fight us, and they're like coming cloaked because they have a general idea of where I kind of cloaked up, and they're like zooming around, and they got the drones out. Man, sphincter clench level 1000 because I didn't want to lose the blingy Gila, because this Gila was worth like 1.5 bill. And I'm like, and they're yelling at me in local. They're like, stop being a pussy. Just, get over this and die. And I'm like, no, go away. I'm going to stay here. I must have been cloaky camp slow boating for almost an hour and a half. Like, they were determined to get me.
And when it comes to that point, you're just like, you're breathing so hard, so slow, holding your breath, and it's just like.
And people are like, why do you have a cloak on your Gila? Like, that is why I have a cloak on my Gila.
It is strategy.
Well, remember when clones cost money? You had to pay for your clone.
Oh, goodness, yeah.
Right, yeah. So that's gone. Back in the day, I mean, when I was roaming nullsec, back in the day, or 10, 12, 11 years ago,
Back in my
AFK
day.
Yeah, well, when you would log off, you couldn't log off anywhere, right? Because you didn't want to lose your clone, and so you'd just cloak up and hang out in space until the next day, and then start over again.
Yeah.
Used to cost me 32 freaking mil back in the day when there were no anoms. It was
Right. Well,
belt
and,
chaining.
and jump clones weren't as easy. We've gotten really spoiled now with citadels and jump clones and having multiple jump clones in a single structure. I mean, my goodness, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's very nice.
Yeah, it's
large
it's
quality
awesome.
of life changes.
Mm-hmm.
So Nullsec used to have one station in it.
right.
Yeah.
Or you could have access if you weren't a certain thing but so it's a lot easier now to move around space. It's a lot easier to and I don't know exactly how big of a problem AFK cloaking really is for people in low sec or in certainly in high sec because you can't use them, but we'll see. I mean, it's a fascinating answer to a problem that I don't know. I know a lot of people complain about it, and I know that when I lived in nullsec, it was annoying. Urshikon used to cloak up 4 or 5 vagabonds in our home system and try to mess with us too. And so I know what it's like living under that kind of pressure. So we'll see how this goes. They're not very strong. They're easily destroyed. They don't last forever. and you can only do 10 of them at a time in the system. So I don't know if you're actively cloaked, you should be okay. So I don't know, decloak, how fast are they going to be able to probe you down? We'll have to wait and see how this all works out.
Depends on how, super crazy quick people. Like, I've seen some people who, like, they're fast.
Oh,
And they're
yeah,
like
we
zip,
have-
zip, zip,
Oh,
and
yeah.
you're
Yeah,
screwed.
yeah, we have
But-
some amazing probers in Stay Frosty. Can really fast.
It's really a skill. It's
It
a good
really
thing
is.
to figure out. Same thing
Mhm.
with like descanning. Figuring out where anyone is in the system. Just alt click on a planet in your overview to see if someone's at it.
So,
Yeah.
Weird. I learned a lot about descanning just because of the invasions and stuff when we were trying to track down NPCs and stuff all the time. So there was always something to find.
Yeah, I've gotten to the
Yeah.
point. I've been descanning for so long. I've gotten to the point where I can pretty much tell by who is in local, where, not 100%, but where they're
You
going
have
to
a
be.
guess.
Like,
yeah.
I'm pretty sure they're going to be over here, and oh look, they are. So let's go.
it's like, shabam.
Mhm.
So, I guess, again, typical CSM question.
Sure.
We'll start with you, Uriel, because, you came in second, so I'm going to try and swip it between the both of you.
Okay.
But
yeah.
if
Fair.
if you had your one thing that you wanted CCP to do and they said, we will do it, what would it be?
If there was one thing I could have them 100% do, probably put a link to stuff to do with the fiction actually in the game, because currently, in
More
order to
lore.
find Eve's lore, you have to already know it exists and have someone maybe point it in your direction. You can't find the fiction website from pretty much almost any official CCP place. That includes the main page of their website too, which is a real shame if you ask me. Just make
Mhm.
the story stuff visible, and doing something as simple as that, I think, is a huge plus to that entire area of the game and to a thing that could potentially make a lot more people interested and make them stick around longer. So that's my thing. Make the story visible, expose players to it.
And what about you, Rix?
Well, if I could make them do anything, then
Mhm.
I would like a Polaris, please, so that I don't have to die anymore. But that would be really selfish of me, and that's not something I'm going to ask for. But you said it was kind of like a magic wish, so
It was a magic wish. I was giving
But
you, like, I
in-
know.
I want a magic ship that doesn't die. But yeah, no. In real life, though, I would like them to deal with faction warfare. So this is an issue that goes back a long ways for me. Since I came to LoSec, every year I endorse a slate of candidates on my blog. And I've been doing that every year for the last 11 years. And each year I try to interview or the people I don't know. Like, I know a lot of people, but if I don't know you, I will try to talk to you in DMs and stuff and find out a little bit about you. And where was I going? Oh, right. So, but part of those questions was always about faction warfare, about LoSec, about warp core stabs, things like that. Excuse me. And honestly, I have to say that I'm a little disappointed because, and this is one of the reasons why I'm running this year. It's been a very long time, and faction warfare hasn't been iterated on the way it should have been. A lot of us feel like, even though I'm not actually in faction warfare, it's a huge part of my life every day. And I care about those players because they're the lifeblood, the heartbeat of LoSec. And I think a lot of faction warfare players feel like it was one of those things that CCP's become notorious for, right? They put it out there and then they walked away from it, and they haven't really touched it in a significant way in a very long time. And that has
No.
to change. It needs a lot of love. It's been left behind. There's a lot of, I mean, look. Okay, let's look at Abyssal Space. How absolutely gorgeous that is. Let's look at Pochven and how absolutely gorgeous that is. And a lot of the new monuments, a lot of the new things, citadels. Faction warfare looks like it was done 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And we don't have beautiful faction warfare spaces. We don't have beautiful faction warfare gates. We don't have AI-driven diamond rats in faction warfare missions or in faction warfare plexes. I believe that there's a place in Eve, to Uriel's point about storyline, right? So let's create a more immersive experience with stories about the factions, using NPC fleets that are smart, that players can join, that players can help, that players can help achieve goals for each of the empires that they represent. Right now, it's just basically, here, go capture this space. It could be a lot more than that. There's
I mean,
a lot
heck,
of
it could be,
things. Go ahead.
you
Good.
can, you could implement stuff like they had with, say, the invasions, where it's an actual like struggle for, ownership
Exactly.
of the system, things like that.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Smarter NPCs, more involvement there, making it an actual thing where you have NPCs from both sides coming into contact and fighting one another. I mean, that alone makes everything feel so much more alive than it currently does. I think
Absolutely.
faction warfare, or some other iteration of a conflict between the factions, would be extremely well served by, what
Imagine
you're
if
talking
you
about.
imagine if you got an email or a notice, your empress needs you today, and the empress has a special mission that only you can achieve. There's going to be a fleet of ships coming through your system today, and I want you to join it, and I want you to do some descanning for them or probing for them, or I want you to bring an ECM ship because we need that. And we're going to introduce you to ECM and how that works. And we're also going to tell you, we'll give you an ECM ship, and we'll show you how that system works, and we'll teach you that while you're running this mission for us. I mean, the potential benefit to new players, younger players, players who are coming in from high sec is vast. I think it's insanely awesome, and it would help go a long way towards making low sec a vital, intense, immersive experience, which I think benefits all players. And I think it's one of the things we're missing from Eve is that the players themselves, and myself included, and a lot of other players who do content, we're out there on our own. And I think that now we've seen it with Diamond Rats, we've seen it with Abyssal Space, we've seen it with Pochfin, we've seen it with the Triglavians, with the Drifters. Let's see it with Faction Warfare now. Let's put some resources to it so that we can create a more immersive experience for everybody. And I think it doesn't end with Faction Warfare. I think we could go even further with this. But CCP has the technology now to do it, so let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, remembering back to, NPCs doing more stuff. Like the Drifters way back, the Drifter incursions that melted Tranquility
Right.
a few times.
Yep.
That would work if they did it, today.
Yeah.
So, they have that
Yeah,
ability. Exactly.
They do.
A lot
Quaif-
more options to just make the world more alive, more things in space, more things interacting with each other and not just players. I think.
Or remember when your citadel or your station was just blank? It was just you. And now there's little NPC ships undocking and warping around. I remember the first day I logged in and I went to a belt because there was somebody in there ratting, and they warped off. And then I was like, well, wait a minute. What are all these little white dots in here? There's prospects and other ships. I'm like, well, I'll shoot those, because they're I don't know what's going on. I hadn't heard about Diamond Rats yet. And then I shoot them, and then they warped off, and then a whole fleet of like Feroxes and stuff came and killed me. I wasn't prepared for that sort of thing, but now I know. But that's awesome. That's like a little taste of how the game itself. And again, we don't want it to take over from players, but if it walks hand in hand with players, I believe it can create an immersive experience that it makes Eve even greater. We're getting very close. 2 years from now, we'll be 20 years into this darn thing. If
That
we're
really is
going,
crazy.
yeah, if we're 20 years, I mean that's insane. If we're going to go beyond that, and I believe that Hilmar and everyone at CCP wants Eve to last forever, then this is the kind of thing I think that will help transform this game into something new.
Quaif has some good points. Would be cool if rats rotated damage types or the weaknesses. That alone would make it interesting. And then he also said, in my opinion, having sites to just tell you how to do specific missions is bland. I'd 100% do missions if it was just throwing me into the unknown and I had to adapt on the fly.
Yeah, I think CCP wants a lot more future dungeons, especially, to go in that direction. They don't want you to be able to predict things, to a T and be perfectly prepared for whatever comes in. Like,
Poor
just
Eve
look
Uni.
just look at everything again.
Yeah.
Going back to the really well put together content for invasions, like all of the sites there, everything involved there. When NPCs would show up, it's like they have a certain point value total, basically, and that would be, you know, each NPC in this, you know, in the back end has X number of points assigned. So you can have a mix of literally any kinds of ships within that group, you know, up to however many there can be. So you can never know exactly what's going to drop on top of you, and I think that made things
Right.
a lot more fun for that too.
Absolutely.
So doing that sort of thing with missions would be fantastic. I think it is probably a really large undertaking to change anything to do with something that's, you know, that old though in the game. I mean, just look at, you know, corporation logos, you know, same sort of thing, like things that have, there's probably a lot of stuff built on those within the game, and changing a really basic, you know,
We still have
thing in
passes.
the game.
Now-
Yeah, exactly. Those are still here.
Code.
Yeah.
I actually wanted to add to Quave. So, for example, I'd 100% do missions if it was just throwing me into the unknown and adapt on the fly. Well, isn't that Eve in general? Is that like you complete the tutorial and then you're just like, what the fuck? What the fuck do I do here? Let me turn on the
Yeah,
lights.
see, that tone does get, you know,
So
lost a bit when it comes to specifically like the really predictable PvE content like missions. So exactly, like making that more like the rest of the game sounds like a
yeah,
good
And
thing.
it's so like that would, but but what I was trying to say is that like isn't that already there though? Of that like you join and just like you're already like, I'm in the unknown. What the fuck do I do? So, for example, what Rix was talking about how like with faction warfare aspect of like you get the letter from your emperor or empress, whatever the fuck you have, and then just saying like, okay, well, we're gonna do this. We need you to do this. Yes, that's great. It's and almost include the expert systems or whatever the fuck they're called into that a little bit. So for example, say you have no ECM skills, and then so it's like we want you to do this but you don't have any skills trained, so here's this temporarily, go do this, try it out and try that different thing, because that'd be really good, interesting, because
Actually,
it
sounds
makes
like
yeah.
that sounds like a genuinely good use for expert systems, honestly.
Yeah, so
Like
it's
like,
not getting you
instead of having it just be like, oh, buy this package out of game to try this out. You could actually have opportunities for
exactly.
them to be present in the game and give players a chance to find.
CSM, I want my royalty on that. Sorry, CCP, I want my royalty on that. If you
If that ever
give
comes
me
up
give me a pat
anywhere-
on the head. Give me the pat on the head. That's all I
Head
want.
pats.
But like,
Head pats.
If that
yeah.
ever comes up anywhere, that's something we gotta credit you for.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But like, but that would
Hashtag you heard it here first.
exactly on New Eden Post.
Mhm.
But like, wouldn't that be great? Because also one that could also help. It would help new people come into the game instead of the people that just join and start playing the game like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing anymore and everything shit like that, because then it's giving them the different thing, but you're giving a more controlled aspect on of what the expert systems are in regards to that, and also it's giving them, it's like, hey, listen, we're going to try faction warfare for this, but then if you decide to skip this, we'll take like a standing penalty, not that much, but like just do something like that. So some people, if they take standings really seriously, just, or they're like, ah, fuck it, it's a standing, whatever, I'll just get it back again. Like that would be really fucking great.
There's a lot of ways to make this stuff more dynamic. I think.
Exactly.
I like the things you're saying. Like,
Thank you.
I think a lot of it comes down to development bandwidth and the fact that CCP's obviously working on stuff for the future much more immediately than changing anything.
Augie.
And that also was something that felt, yeah, he's back there too. Something that felt pretty, clear. In
Oh, look at the
Invasions,
ears.
especially.
Yeah, come here.
Oh, yeah, he's coming up behind a little.
Hello.
He's
Oh,
down on the floor. Yeah, you can see his
Doggy.
face a
Welcome to
little.
the puppy break.
we just
Yeah.
we just squirreled hard, guys.
Everybody take a pet break.
Squirreled or dogged.
Oh my God, Zelda, your Zelda stream pictures. She's setting go so big.
good.
Oh my
I know,
God.
she's huge. She doesn't even really get mature until 4 years. So,
Goodness.
God,
So
she's
she's
gonna be a
gonna be big.
tiger. I know.
Wow.
Yeah, we just to get back to missions, we have to be very careful, and this is a good example of why the CSM is so important, because CCP could easily take a big hammer and really kind of ruin things. We have to watch, because missions are kind of like comfort food if you think about
They
it
are,
like that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because there are a lot of players that count on that predictability and
that's like,
rely on it, to
They,
make
like, hop into the
income.
game and,
Right,
Yeah.
right. Well, right now we do have PvE that is more challenging, and that's the abyssal sites, and we also have Ponchvin. We have a lot of that, and So we have to be careful we don't eliminate something that people rely on. But I also think we have to give more opportunities for, it all comes down really to risk and reward, right? So how much risk are you willing to take, and how much reward are you willing to accept? So the more risk, the more reward. So if you're just churning missions every day and that's your thing, and more power to you, you know. But if you want more, you should be able to, yeah, you should have an option for more challenging PvE missions, more challenging, but also more reward for doing that, right?
I mean, like, say they had like a new kind of mission agent that can go like hand in hand with the old stuff.
Right.
I mean, like someone in chat, Elder IKP, is saying, why update 5,000 missions if you can make a better system alongside missions that pays better? That is
exactly
what you're talking about there.
Right.
Because it really, I think, would be probably a mistake to gut something that old when, again, it's obviously a pretty foundational part of like players' early experience in the game, and it's something predictable and they can kind of understand what they're doing a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think it could be freshened up a little bit, probably, yeah. but
I mean,
yeah.
you've seen, what the character type stuff, the character interaction things. Like you see the new aura. That's just the first step in things where they've shown these off at a few gatherings recently or whatever. I say recently, but the last times they were happening, where they've shown off. Okay, we can actually display characters together in the game in these ways that we'd like to, add to, say, agent interactions, conversations. We are actually seeing your character in the agent, just making it feel a bit more like alive and stuff, without actually really having to change the core of it all. You can put it in a prettier package, just like how the new industry window a few years back was. I mean, I barely even remember the old one, because this one's just, it looks fresh, it looks nice. You know what you're seeing.
It's awesome, yeah.
And it feels good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
That brings me to another thing too, which is, to Uriel's point, everything new that's been added to the game is just freaking amazing, right? They just won a Webby for the Project Discovery. Project Discovery looked amazing. It was like a modern 2020, 21, subsystem. And yet the basic mechanics of Eve is something that's been there for a very long time. And I'm talking about the UI that we look at pretty much all day, right? So that's another linchpin that I would like to have some time to sit down with the design team and talk about the UI, talk about immersion, right? I mean, right now it's just, wow, there's so much information. And I think that it could easily be updated. We've seen what they can do. They can do some really, truly amazing UI creations in very creative ways. And I think that modern players, we're used to it, right? I've been playing E for 13 years. I'm used to it. But, when I have 4 boys, they play games all the time. And my 16-year-old tries Eve every couple of months. But it's just not, it's not like anything else out there, right? It looks different, it acts different, and
plays different.
The learning curve, it's steep.
Yeah. And I think, the UI needs a little help. It needs a little, to be a little bit more immersive and a little bit easier to understand.
I'd still say the biggest thing they could do to help with that would be to create a much better default overview.
Yes.
I mean, that alone would go a ridiculously far way in helping guide players into the game a lot more smoothly, because it just has everything on it by default, and there's no different tabs or settings or things like that, really. It doesn't tell you how to change things on it. An overview is where you're getting almost all the information you're going to digest in space. And, the information density in an MMO, especially something like Eve, it's just by virtue of how many things there are that you have to know about at any given time. It's going to be covering like most of your screen if you're trying to see all the things you got to look at, My
BFF Nolan, who just subbed, thank you Nolan, says his buddy just tried and gave up after a few days, couldn't figure out the combat mechanics well enough. This is why I'm a firm believer in getting some sort of social Discord where newbies can all join in and talk to vets who are willing to donate their time, because we all know that you get that person on comms, you get them on Discord, you get them on TeamSpeak, talking to other people, they'll find somebody that they jive with, and then they stick around, because this is what we do. Whereas the newbies who are just coming in like willy-nilly, they're gone because they don't have the community. The community is ultimately what pulls Eve together. Like,
People finding their place in the game is the most important thing
Mhm.
about keeping them around, which goes back to what I said about the story stuff. It's such a good initial glue, makes someone say, all right, this sounds kind of neat, and they try to find stuff, and then maybe they'll find a group they want to fly with and do anything else in the game with, and
Mhm.
maybe they'll still be interested in the story too. But you got to have a way for them to, you have to have something to catch them early on.
Diana.
If you're interested in the overview, I suggest. If you'd like to, on my forum post, there's a link to download or to go view. I don't remember if it goes to a post that I wrote or if it's actually the document. But about 6 years ago, I wrote a proposal on the request of CCP for fixing the overview, and I have a link on my forum post to that. You can take a look at it. It's pretty cool. So yeah, there are things that you can't do to that, but it's a pretty interesting thing. It's a little technical, but it's pretty awesome. Anyway, sorry.
General Starglazer says that Uriel looks like he's
he's
about
here.
to drop a new rap album. And then he
Necklace.
says that agents need to get a revamp and refresh. They're getting pretty old again.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah,
got a
that's
couple
where that
comments
character
here.
stuff comes in.
Yeah.
That character display stuff, I think, would freshen things up a very large amount.
What's
it's
funny,
not-
one
it's
of
not
my
Really does.
one of my colorblind friends was playing Eve for like 8 years and just only realized last weekend that Eve has a colorblind option. It's hidden very
Yeah.
well.
It is,
Now-
That's in
yeah.
there though, yeah.
Yeah.
I will agree with what Nolan said. PvE as a
Mhm.
whole needs love. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, current
Faction
PvP,
warfare.
right? But like, of just how the fact, like crabbing, for example, some people literally have it down to a science and everything. It's just like, okay, for
Yeah.
example, in a C6 wormhole, the rats don't spawn differently. They literally spawn at the same spot. So if you are in, by the way, I'm giving you guys a tip to make mad isk, but good luck getting into a C6 red giant. If you just get Rorks, like 4 Rorks in a C6
Wow.
and
All
red
right.
giant, and you literally warp from there, you turn on all smart bombs, they could easily tank all the smart bomb damage, and Rorks also don't spawn the Avengers, which are like the
Yeah,
high
yeah.
tier. So then literally you're in an ISK printing machine. So like think about that.
C6s are interesting.
Yeah,
Right,
they are
right.
just, you don't fuck with them because they will fuck with you. But like,
Again,
for
yeah,
example,
all this oh yeah, continue, yeah.
yeah,
Predict-
it's so it's
predictability,
just
right?
yeah, it's such predictability. Okay, like I play PvE because I want to be engaged. Some other people, they just want to do it because yeah, this is fun. Don't get me wrong, that's awesome, good for you. You do you, boo boo. But then like that, you are such a small niche compared to the rest of the game, and you need to take that into fact. So you need to make something balanced. So I'm not saying completely get rid of that style, still keep that, but maybe possibly bring in something else that other people that like to do PvP to also engage them and help bring it on a little bit more. So it just all depends on that. Also,
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, totally agree.
thank you.
Yeah, I know
It's just
nothing
such
about
a
wormholes, so I'm just like,
complicated,
Look
yeah.
look at me coming up with good ideas, guys. 2 in one night.
because
that's
like
what
the only
discussion is good
crabbing I
for.
do is
I think that's exactly what's happening here is why the CSM has value. I mean, get a few people talking in person together in a room together, and you end up getting something at least,
Mhm.
A lot
Yeah,
of fun.
absolutely. Yeah.
And the things happen. Poof, magic.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the minutes, of course, they always have some nice recipe they put in there. So yeah,
Yeah, I
Mhm.
mean, we've all been to player meets. We know what it's like. You sit around a table at a bar, and you start talking, and then before you know it, it's 6 o'clock in the morning, and you have no
Mhm.
idea where the night went.
Are you
Thanks for
describing Civilization or something?
Right, yeah.
That time long ago
Long ago, time
when
ago, yeah.
being closer than 6 feet was okay.
that
So-
time
oh,
will
wow.
become
I'm
a
so
little more
sorry.
accessible again.
So
I just got
Miss,
my last Pfizer shot yesterday, so
Woot
Yay.
woot.
finally
yay.
able to see some of my.
Yay.
I think I'm finally good to see a couple of my friends again. A couple of cities away who they live so close by, but really none of us have seen
Well-
each other in a year and a half.
Yeah,
Mm.
just be aware. Like I don't know about the 2-shot ones, but it might take a week or 2 to get the full
Efficacy kind of going on
immunity.
it.
But
Yeah.
just you should
Oh,
be
don't
good
worry, I'm not
enough.
just jumping out there and licking everyone's cups or something
Okay.
like that. You know.
All right.
Lick the doorknobs, all of
Hey,
them.
so guys, couple good things.
Hello.
Miss, and we only have like 10 minutes left. I'm sorry, because I gotta go, because sitting down hurts like a bitch.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
Red line's like
I got my donut. Don't worry, but like even then. So Miss says, how do you think missions would work if they scaled level 4 similar to Abyssal's? Higher tier level 4s would drop more loot, but are more difficult. I like that. How that would affect
I
doing
think
them
you
solo.
probably wouldn't want to call them level 4s.
Yeah.
Like if you create a new form of mission
Right.
system, you know, again,
Be
you
something
could probably
new.
base. I mean, you could,
Catch
you know, Abyssal PVE is just instance stuff technically in another, in other systems, kind of on its own space.
Right.
To create sites in the same dynamic way. I mean, from a technical standpoint, I would, you know, from anything I can guess, somewhat trivial, because that's how all the newer dungeons already work, where they have, you know, a random group that can come in depending on the, you know, possible values they can have, like I was saying earlier.
Yeah.
But yeah, making like new, you know, if you want to call them missions, you could call them something else, you know. I think having good PvE that also, like, you know, links in like information about the world and like things like that that'd be good. You know, it's like regular missions right now, they're also, you know, good for, again, keeping players going, because it's something they can easily always just log on and do. And I think that's where a lot of the value in like Abyssal stuff comes on too, because you can just undock, do those for a little bit and hop off. You don't have to like look for your stuff, because you don't always have time to go flying out into, you know, low or null or wormhole space or Oshvan and looking for fights. You know, it's always something you can do. And that's, I think, the biggest value in the predictable stuff. But creating things that are a balance between predictable, or at least immediately accessible, and, you know, exciting, I think is a good idea.
Yep.
And also, General did say, I'd like to ask, do you guys think the Stargate Trailblazers event should have been more of a tug-of-war event, being able to stop them from being built to mix PvP and PvE? Or do you think being a pure PvE event that was... Honestly, I like that idea. I like that idea so much, and I think they should incorporate that more in the future.
I think that is a thing that they've discussed on a couple of Discords, about saying that's a good idea. But for this one, it's really just finding a new way to use the, you know, to revamp the resource wars. And this was kind of an excuse for that as well. Because those, you know, the content there was well put together, but the rewards that were, you know, everything was just so broken about things, it wasn't worth it to do any of them. So just kind of finding a new use for that content that they obviously took time to develop. I'm happy to see that, and finding new ways to integrate that into things in the future would be great. Like, also say, you know, faction warfare type stuff, or go back to the invasion type things, where maybe it doesn't only have to be, you know, fights that are going on that affect, you know, some like progress bar from one side to the other of a hypothetical struggle between factions vying for control of a system. You know, you could make all sorts of things actually be able to come into play there.
The thing I'm really curious about too is what if one of these gates doesn't get enough resources? Is it not going to get built?
So it's already been confirmed on the forums and in a few places that this is just sort of a context for the thing, and the people who like get, you know, contribute the most resources and stuff will be like credited in some things, but the gates are being constructed no matter what.
All right, that makes
Fozzie,
sense.
I think, confirmed that a couple of days ago.
Yeah,
all
I
the
think CCP's
information.
always in a bit of a bind about that. You know, they got a lot of flack for the Edencom trig thing, you know, and
the idea that, you know, choose a side when, you know, there's obviously an intended outcome. I think one of the biggest problems with it, again, also the invasion stuff I'm really big on. There's a lot of stuff I have to say about that sort of stuff. But the biggest thing, I think, is that CCP was entirely surprised by the amount of people actually invested in it for the sake of the story stuff, and everyone hopping on the Edencom side, literally being, you know, let's defend the space we have, and, you know, drumming up support and getting like thousands of players who might not know a lot about the story, giving them all like a beacon to kind of just jump in under and just have this huge amount of content happening. Where Edencom was obviously built, you know, to be some sort of just throwaway kind of, oh, the Empire's type faction. It really, really turned into a very, on both sides, enormous conflict. And it's really interesting to see that, you know, the way that went. And I really hope a lesson was learned in that, you know, you can't always expect things to go
the
you
way
know,
you
oh,
thought that they
yeah.
could have. Okay, guys.
Because
Right,
their thoughts
right.
were all, everyone's going to join the Trigs. 'cause
I
they
want to
suck.
get one more question in before we round this show up, because poor Mal and
Alright.
her donut's not working anymore.
Aw,
I'm gonna
poor Mel.
ask. I'm gonna ask the obvious question. Why do you think you should win CSM?
Go ahead, Euro. You'll start with that.
Okay, yeah, I'll let you finish it off.
Thanks.
Honestly, I have no reason to think why I should win it. I'd deeply appreciate it if enough people voted for me to get me on that council. Why do I think I should be voted on? Story stuff is important, and intellectual property with as much time put into it as Eve. This has been the stuff for this game has been written by various authors over the course of more than 20 years now, counting pre-development stuff. There's a lot of rich stuff there, a lot of depth, a lot of things that should be more visible. And again, like I said, when I started playing the game, I found the Chronicles, read all of them in a couple of days, and knew I'd be into this probably forever. So, if even a small amount of players get into the game the same way, that's more players that are paying into the game and more players that'll stick around.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the value in it. The story of the game should be exposed to the players, that people should be able to find it, and that's the absolute biggest thing. And that's what I champion the most. That's why I think I should get on there, and hopefully, be that voice for that area of things, because as underspoken as it tends to be, it is a really big core part of everything. Otherwise, if you don't have context for the things you're doing, then it's not as cool. Show info on any ship in the game, any object. There's some little bit of world building information, and I think that's a really cool thing, and it needs to be more
I agree.
known.
I agree. All right, Rex.
All right. So I agree with Uriel. It's hard to be humble and also say why you should vote for me. So pardon me while I spout things about myself. But if anybody's know anything about me for the last 13 years, you know that I care deeply about Eve and the community that surrounds it. Every year, and Ivy knows, she's been to our player events here at our home, and we were out on
They
the patio.
open up their house to Eve
we were
players.
And we
Wonderful.
spent all year making it a house brand new. And we were out on the patio today. And my wife and I are both like, when can we have Steel City Eve again? Because our house is all new. We want everybody to come and hang out. And so that's a bummer. But why
Nolan, I want to meet Zelda, damn it.
Exactly. Yeah. Our cats are like looking for people to pet them, so yeah,
Well,
we can't wait.
We can provide those
Yeah.
people.
Yep, we can. So we're looking forward to when we can do that again. And I will say this, that I've been kind of on the CSM for 10 years, 11 years. I've been pounding away at the soapbox. When they took the frills away from the Vagabond, we organized the community to get those back. When Incarna came out, I was putting hats on Twitter avatars.
Oh.
We were complaining to Hilmar. We were putting frills around people's necks. Warcore Stab's been at that for 10 years. That got handled. I don't know if you've heard this. I told this story on another Twitch stream, but the day after the Warcore Stab thing, I got a DM from Hilmar saying, "Hey, congratulations on that." And that's a lot of that credit goes to you. And I'm like, would you be willing to have a quote about that? Well, let me run it by PR. So like a day later, he goes, "This is the quote that's been officially approved by PR," which is pretty cool.
That is really neat.
Yeah, that's neat. That doesn't happen very often. As you guys probably know too, I have 4 cease and desist letters in that filing cabinet behind my shoulder from CCP, and those are, and I think people need to understand why I got cease and desist letters for things that already have happened. So I fought for artist rights and IP rights for 11 years now. I got 2 cease and desist letters because of that. And now we have a fan community. We have a Discord community for artists, and people like Lloyd and others
He's wonderful. I love his watercolors.
They have a contract with CCP that they can legally sell art for. And I'm working with the Eve store, as you know.
Ladies apparel that doesn't look like a box.
I know. Sorry.
Yes, please.
I don't pick the merch, but yeah. So, but that That's great. Those are things that I fought for, that I stood up for, and that I advocated for, and that their legal system didn't like, and yet they're here. We have them now.
Here we
So
are, yeah.
yeah,
I
so
think a
those
lot of that should absolutely be owed pretty specifically to you. If there's any voice that's been loudest about merchandising type stuff, I think it's been yours. I
yeah,
think
I mean,
that's absolutely helped out a lot.
we still have a
Probably
long
made
we
things
still have a
happen.
long way to go, but we're getting there.
I
Andrew's
mean,
books.
just look at
Kickstarters.
stuff like the stuff I got on my desk here now. Even
Mhm.
merchandise, they're finally starting to do a bit more with it. Like I got an Astero that came in like today.
Right. Oh, those are
and
awesome.
Stuff.
Ooh.
Like
Yeah.
they have ship models now. They
Not-
have things like that. Like
Yep.
making actual merchandise.
They don't
happen.
cost $8,000 like the floating.
I don't know. All I know is
That
I
Nix,
have
Oh my goodness.
I have been harassing Mr. Ricks over and over the last month so that I can make
She's very harassing me.
Alliance swag. I'm like, I
must
need
complain.
this, and he supplied,
Yep.
and I have made
Yep.
some phenomenal T-shirts with our Alliance logo.
Go
being
see
crafted.
Rick's, guys. Go see Rick's.
Yeah.
Best.
Oh, not right now. I'm really busy, but yeah.
Fair.
So I think that also, and this is not to be said, is that if anybody knows LoSec, it's me, and I consider myself the LoSec candidate. But I also, in my career, I have experience in real life, working on board of directors and getting things done, raising money for charities, working with people with varying opinions, and getting us all together working for the same goal. And I would like to do that on the CSM. I would like to break the chains on some of these massive changes that need to happen to bring this game into the third decade of its life.
Mm-hmm.
And as I've said already, if I am fortunate enough to be elected, I'm choosing to only serve for 2, not 3 terms to get us to the 20th anniversary. And I would like to have the chance to do that. So that's why I'm running.
No, good.
Please vote.
Aw. You guys have
Aw.
some awesome stances and thoughts. And like I said at the beginning of the show,
We'll see.
you guys, I'm a firm believer in fresh blood, and when I ran last year, that was one of my things. Like, I'm new, I've got ideas, I'm community based, and I think people like us need to have a say and need to show what we can do, and we need to be given that opportunity. So guys, you heard it from Lasers and Lace, and I don't know about Delana
Can
now.
I say
Yeah.
one more thing? Can I say one more thing? Uriel has my full support. He'll be on my ballot. And I also want to encourage anyone who's listening to support independent candidates. As I said earlier, for the last 11 years, I've been putting candidates on my blog, and I've helped, Rockweiler. I tried to get the judge, a couple of other people I've helped get on the CSM in the past. People like Mike Azariah, people like Uriel, people who like Teddy Gerbic.
Help the little people.
Help the little people. We have.
it's important to have people from not just the largest groups. Exactly.
Right. We are looking like we always do every year with 6 to 8 slots going to NPC null. Going to null blocks.
Yep.
Client. So there's only 10 CSM members and 1 backup. So the independent voice on the council needs to be supported, and we need the votes. We don't have the mechanisms or the political groups behind us like others do. So whatever we can do to get more votes for more independent candidates is good.
Do it. Do the voting,
Yeah.
people.
All right.
Voice.
All right.
More diversity. Diversity. first.
Yeah. As a nullsec blobber, stop putting so many nullsec people on the CSM. Stop it. It's too many.
And you have that critical mass, that's kind of just how it goes.
Yep.
And in return, also, anyone who likes my platform, also go vote for Ricks, because he's wonderful, really. Like, everything we've talked about tonight, if there's anyone to speak on any of the sorts of things he's brought up tonight, it's him. Out of pretty much anyone in the game, he's absolutely high on my ballot. So
I
Thank
100% of it. Okay, guys, thank you so much for
Thanks,
coming with us
guys.
today.
Yep.
We love
Thank
having
you.
you
It was
as
good.
always.
It was good seeing everybody.
Go
So nice.
raid Gory Xander.
I wanted to raid CCP so people could watch more CSM stuff.
Oh yeah, because they're doing the interviews.
Oh,
Because they're
okay,
still doing
yes, do
interviews,
that.
yeah.
Right, yeah.
But throwing it out there, guys, next month is June. And on
I have
June,
plans.
we are
Well,
doing
in 5 days.
Lasers and Lace Pride Month edition. So we're going to get
Awesome.
down and deep into some serious topics. We're also going to have some CCPers on during the month of June. We've got the
Yep.
art team coming on, and they're going to have
Awesome.
some pretty things for us. But June is going to be a little bit more serious, and we're going to talk about topics that people might not like. And if you don't like it, go over there somewhere else, because we're going to talk about it anyways. It's what we do. You don't like it, there's the door. And if you do like it, send your friends. But for now, guys, we are thank you to our guests, and thank you to the community, and thank you to the people who tune in religiously to watch us squirrel on. And now we are going to raid over to CCP so we can watch more CSM candidates. But Rix,
Cool.
Uriel, you guys
Good.
got my votes. You got the
Awesome.
support of Sixth Empire.
Thank you. That's one.
You've got the support of WarBG. Hello, you have no say in this. I've spoken. And there we go. We're gonna see if I can
we
do
do
it.
love
Guys,
Rick. So.
thanks guys for having us on.
All
Appreciate it.
right.
Yay. We're gonna do the raid thing.